We begin with the big issue, the race to secure a deal and enjoy the long weekend.
Republicans are driving us down a dangerous road of default. Many extreme MAGA Republicans have made the political calculation that a dangerous default and crashing the economy and triggering a recession is in their political interests.
The Democrats today are not the same Democrats. They're very extreme. We see them up their anger right now against the president when he's trying to curb spending at the same time negotiating with me. That's not productive.
So publicly, lawmakers are still busy insulting each other. Privately, the contours of a deal are coming together. According to people familiar with the matter, the two sides have narrowed some of their differences in recent days. Negotiators said to be moving closer to an agreement to raise the debt limit and cap federal spending for 2 years. President Biden remaining optimistic.
Speaker McCarthy and I have had several productive conversations, and our staffs continue to meet as we speak, as a matter of fact, and they're making progress. I've made clear time and again defaulting on our national debt is not an option.
Just for good measure, to focus minds, talk's getting another reality check. The Treasury's cash balance dropping below $50 billion, according to the latest data. That's down from more than 76 the day before and almost a third of what it was in the middle of May. Joining us now to discuss, Annmarie down in D.C. alongside Kailey, Leinz. Morning, Annmarie.
Good morning, John. So we are seeing potentially the contours of a deal before we head into this long Memorial Day weekend. And this is important because when Speaker McCarthy took the gavel, became Speaker, he told his members he would always give them 72 hours to read legislation. So potentially, if they're able to come to an agreement today, get the text worked up, we could see a vote as soon as Tuesday. And that's going to be necessary because we are really starting to close this gap ever so narrow towards June 1st. There's one thing we should mention when we're talking about the contours of this deal. Yes, it raised the debt limit. Yes, it caps spending. But at what level does it cap spending? What our reporting from Kailey Gardner and Justin Singh talk about is that actually defense spending would go up, and they do want to make sure that there is going to be enough funding for veteran programs. One win the GOP, Jonathan, may be able to get is that they're going to take $10 billion out of the $80 billion that was supposed to go to the IRS from the President's Inflation Reduction Act. But progressives, one win they're going to get is a measure when it comes to renewable energy. And this has to do with transmission lines, and the GOP will get speeding up of permits. So something in there for everyone. But Speaker McCarthy made it very clear, not everyone is going to be happy with this deal. And that is why next week, even if there is an agreement today, is going to be very difficult.
And Kailey, Leinz, that's what we've got to focus on. What, or rather who, are you focused on right now?
Well, it's the far wings of both parties, right, John? Because in theory, those on the far right side of the Republican Party don't want Speaker McCarthy to be giving up too much. They would like to see deep spending cuts like in the bill that the House already passed. Then on the Democratic side, the progressives don't want to see stricter work requirements for entitlements. And we understand that that is an issue that has not been fully worked out yet. So if you have members of both parties that may not be satisfied with the ultimate compromise, that is what makes the whip count and the actual passage of whatever deal they come to very difficult. And again, we're working against the clock here because, remember, June 1st, the earliest potential date Janet Yellen has outlined as the next date is on Thursday. There is not a lot of wiggle room, and even some of the ideas, the alternatives that have been floated to avoid a default scenario like prioritization or the 14th Amendment or even something like a $1 trillion coin. Fitch Ratings in the last several days, when issuing that ratings watch negative for the U.S.'s AAA credit rating, said all of those things would not be consistent with the AAA rating and still could result in a downgrade, even if the Treasury continues to make payments on its debt.
I'll speak for all of us. None of us want to be tracking this going into the weekend.